Our guest tonight for Shabbat Night Live and for this weekend was recruited by the Muslim Brotherhood in a mosque. He was trained by the KGB as a terrorist. Now, I'm intimately familiar with terrorism, lived in Israel for a number of years, and there was a time in Israel where a bus was being blown up just about every week. And the reason I'm wearing two hearing aids is that I was walking by the front of a shoe store at 50 Jaffa Street, and a woman, a nurse, who had come in on a Red Crescent vehicle, which is the air version of the Red Cross, brought in a suitcase, walked into a women's and children's shoe store, set the case down, stepped away from it. The girl behind the counter said, "Excuse me, can I help you?" Everyone turned and looked at her. She panicked, picked up the suitcase, walked out the door, walked past me, took 4 more steps, and her head landed at my feet. The arms and legs were all around me. My ears were blown out, and the entire front of the stores for 100 feet in each direction were blown away. 150 people went to the hospital, and I began to attend the wounded on the outside. Before I was finished, I picked up this girl's head, this woman's head, thinking it was a Jewish mother with her children in school on a Sunday morning, and it ended up that I took this woman's head, wrapped it up in a blue banner that had blown down, and put it over by a pillar. It wasn't until later that I found out that this was the first female Palestinian suicide bomber that blew herself up in downtown Jerusalem. My guest tonight was a terrorist. This is what he was raised to do, but not that kind of terrorist. This gentleman was raised as a political terrorist. Intelligentsia, when I first heard him with General Boykin doing a presentation, I understood that this man understood Islam. He understood what was going on in America, because he was sent to America to do a job and to infiltrate America. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now introduce Kamal Salim. I keep on putting your first and last name together.
That's true.
Kamal.
It's good to be with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's good to, this is not the name that you were raised with. You are in hiding, are you not?
That is very true. Kamal Salim is my middle name in both of them, and not my first and last name.
Okay. Well, Kamal, tell us. You know, it starts back a long time ago, 7 years of age, I understand. Tell us your story about how you got involved with the Muslim Brotherhood, your life of terrorism.
Beirut. I was born in Beirut, in a Muslim Sunni family, 14 brothers and sisters, in a 3-room house, kitchen, living room, bedroom. This is where my life story started. As a child, there's a place in my home, it was very near to my heart. It was the kitchen table. There that madrasa took place, which is schooling of the kids. You know, and the boys studied to be the leaders, and the girls studied to be the subservient, you know, to serve the boys, because they're the second citizen in Islam. There I learned my purpose by my mom. My mom told me, "You will die for the sake of Allah. You are so pure at heart. You will bring blessings to the family by destroying our enemy, the Jews and the Christians." From my infant age, you know, from there, I drank the milk of my mother of radicalism. My hope and my desires is to wake up someday and the Jews and the Christians be destroyed, ultimately. I dreamt about it, I focused on it. At 7 years old, I used to climb on a rooftop of the building, and I used to draw, you know, take my clothes off naked in a tub. There in cold Beirut night, I used to roll in icy water, crying to my God, "Allah, Rabbi wa Mawlay, Allah, my Lord and my King, if lam takun li, faman li, if you are not for me, who will be for me?" And I cried for hours because I want to have a relationship with him. I want to please him. From there, my dad took me out of school at 7 years old because I was not smart enough. From there, I started working. I was recruited in a neighborhood mosque by a special group called the Muslim Brotherhood. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire in 1924, the Muslim Brotherhood rose into existence in 1928 to bring back the caliphate and Islamic civilization, ummah, and establish, Sharia law, the law of the world, and one world order under Allah. I was trained by them. I was mentally changed how to invade civilization like the Western civilization, how to obtain the power of the Western civilization. There, my school took place in the mosque. You see, the mosque is not like the church or like a synagogue. The mosque itself is an embassy, represent the Islamic State. It's a place of training, recruitment, where you hide weapon caches. Statistics shows by the FBI, 84% of our American mosques in America, they are radicals. 84%. So therefore what happened is I was trained there, and then it was a month later that the whole group went to the PLO camp, and I was training under Yasser Arafat. At that time, it was called Fatah. From there, my life was changing. I went on my first mission to Israel. I was 7 years old, carrying weapon caches in a knapsack, going into holes, right there, tunnels, from the Golan Heights to manifest inside Israel, only to rendezvous with the shepherds, to give them the knapsack. They strapped on the belly of the sheep. They take them into Israel. They give them to the martyrs. They kill themselves and kill others. My life changed. I became a child recruiter. Now I was recruiting children from school. My hope and my, everything was Islam, is to love Allah and die for Allah, and that's all I had. I had no other hope.
Now, a lot of the bus bombings that have happened in Israel have been children that have been sent onto buses to blow themselves up. So you actually were involved in recruiting these children to blow themselves up.
I was a child soldier, and I was a recruiter, yes. I recruited those children in Lebanon, and then I took them, and they trained with us. And now the second mission, I was 8 years old. It was a bloody mission. I carried my best friend on my back at 8 years old. My life changed. But Yasser Arafat blessed me that day, and he said, only children like Kamal will conquer Jerusalem and bring Israel to be the land of the Arabs, of Islam. I was changed, and my life now was going in a different direction. I worked for different groups until the Saudi Arabian government recruited me. And now I was working for the Saudis. The Saudis sent me specifically to Europe because they want to do civilization jihad. Civilization jihad, it is not like the 9/11. Civilization jihad where you change the culture, where the culture sleep, you change it while they sleep. And my life was involved in how to affect the Christian places, the Jewish places, how to shame them and how to bring them to assimilate to Islam, and how to go to the school system, how to invade the academia, going to the professors, how to go to all those places and then see where the weaknesses and the strength of Europe. We mapped Europe. But then the call came and they said, America has been winning war after war for the Muslims. We don't want the Crusaders to win Islamic war. We want to send you to Afghanistan. So at that time, the war did not break. I went to Afghanistan all the way to teach the Mujahideen how to shoot heat-seeking missiles. That was my mission. And there I encountered the Special Forces, American Special Forces, for the first time in my life. And the secret of these men was not their weapon. It was their character and identity and their godly value. There, I was going to go on a deadly mission, martyrs, to destroy a Russian bomber, Sukhoi, and after I did this, die for the sake of Allah, to set the example for the Mujahideen. That night they said, you don't have to die, we'll bring you back alive, come on. 7 men sat down and held their hands and they cried out to Jesus in the middle of thousands of Mujahideen. I was filled with fear. Why I was filled with fear? Because these men were not afraid to cry out to their God. That is the America that I knew.
Yeah.
This is the soldiers. These men love their God and love their nation and love the world. Therefore, I wrote the letter to the Saudi prince. I said to them, we're going to lose this war because we have not committed anything to this war, while the Americans committed their children, their blood, their sacred honor, and everything they have for bunch of mules. They're willing to give their life for these people, and we have not committed for this. So my commission came is, leave Afghanistan, we're sending you to America, we're going to take the war to their streets. And that's where it started.
Now, you made a stop off in Romania, did you not?
Yes, I did. I was a young child. I was in my teenage, and the war, Islam is not a religion. The majority of Islam, over 80+%, it's a political system, military system, government system. So Islam, it's really, only 14% of Islam is a religion. The rest of it is, it's a fullness of government. And they came, to know that the only way to defeat the West and to defeat anything is by disinformation. How to, to teach those young men, the one they chose, how to infiltrate culture and bring about how to change the culture with disinformation. What is disinformation? Is when you release something to the people that you say it's a secret and it's not a secret. But you want the people to know this so they can step in one way versus the other. When you buy professors and send them to Turkey or Saudi Arabia to train and be paid to bring about socialism to the United States of America and Islamism. So this is when you pay politicians and you eat with them on the same table and you put sums of money. So now they are worshiping at the feet of Baal instead of the feet of this nation. This is how you shift the culture. You affect the culture, you buy a favor. And when you buy a favor, what happens is the whole world will start shifting, because the mountains of influence of our nation, they are not changed and shifted from the bottom. They are shifted from the top. Where the men sit, that's what you talked about earlier, priests and kings, kings and priests. This is our authority where we exercise in those 7 mountains of influence. And this is where the church have fallen weak. But nevertheless, this is what disinformation, this is what the KGB, will teach you. How to
and so you're actually trained by KGB as far as this subversion into America then?
Well, it was about Western civilization at that time. It was not about America.
Oh, okay.
And when we went to the Western civilization, to Europe, I wrote a letter to the prince. I said to him, Europe is falling. I said, if you want to have a good time, go to the church. The best drink and the best looking girl, that's the place, and a good music. That's the best place. It's better than any concert, because the churches where they're failing. And now the churches, as we see America, the church is getting weak. As the church goes, so goes the culture. The culture followed the church. And so therefore what happened is they lost their identity, and they didn't believe in this God that they really were worshiping. Now it became something to, it's just an extra culture act. So therefore, this is what happened. But then I was sent to America. Yes, America was not on my radar until they said, we need somebody with a heart to take on the greatest giant, because the giant that we need to take against, they are the great Satan. That's what we called him, America. And the small Satan is Israel. And by taking on this, we can come and marry your women, at the university, obtain the citizenship, and now we can use the Constitution against your culture by your laws. We can take your laws against you by marrying into your culture. That was the way of infiltration.
Now, you say that the majority of Islam is really political, it's not religious, but yet we see that there's almost a ban of anything to do with Christianity in the American schools, but somehow our children are being taught as far Islamic prayers, and the doors open, and it seems like Islam is the only protected religion in America today.
Well, the mountain of education is the most important mountain, in our culture, because that's where our children are sitting at every day, going to elementary school, going to grammar school, and they're the infiltration today. Tomorrow I will be talking about in detail, how it's done, but it is how they're infiltrating the Ivy League university and taking the power in writing the curriculum for the American children and offering the universities big sums of money, from $12 million to $25 million a year to open Islamic centers. These Islamic centers will be able to write the school curriculum, the public school curriculum. And when they write those curriculum, what happened? They establish Islamization of the children. Gulen, you know, he's one of the Turkish prince that he sits here in the United States of America, his friend of Erdogan, the president of Turkey. He said, why we need to destroy America by airplanes, while we can go to the fiber of this nation, bring grammar, Islamic grammar, English, Islamic English, geography, Islamic geography, history, Islamic history, and change the culture from its fiber. These are charter schools. Those today, there are over 150 Islamic charter schools. Each state pay about $150 million to invest every year in those schools to bring about Islamization to America. But nevertheless, everything is happening now. Since they saw the university students are converting to Islam and it's easy to socialize them and bring Marxism to them, they thought, okay, if we are going after the big student, why didn't we go for the young, the 7th grader and younger? And now they are. And when we look at what they're teaching them, it's called Common Core. Common Core is the deadliest weapon ever. And when we look who's involved in Common Core, we find the Bill Gates, the Bushes, the Clinton, the Romneys, and the Kuwaitis, the Qataris, the Saudis, you know, and the Libyans, the Gaddafi family. All these families are sitting together on the same table. Even though we are fighting with these people, but these people are sitting on the table. It's really the God of this world that they worship in, and not the God of heaven and earth. So
now there's something that's transpired in America, that there are so many publishers of books for the curriculum for schools. There were dozens, but now it's been narrowed down to just a few. Can you tell us? Tell us about it. So 3 publishers of school curriculum, books for schools, 3 publishers left in America when there used to be dozens. And who owns them?
Well, you have to come tomorrow and see that, you know, because, this is really, because that's the heart of the whole thing. And you don't want to miss that part. But I'll give you one of them. Haftel. You know, this is one of the bigger ones, you know, and 2 other more, and I will talk about those tomorrow.
Okay.
But they are bought by Saudi dollars, and they are sitting behind the scene. And tomorrow you will understand how the Muslim world controlling the American world and the purpose of the United Nations and the United States of America.
Okay, well, we are looking forward to that, because we are seeing, as of right now, our president has effectively turned over the licensing of the internet to an international body now, to where it will be an unchallengeable executive that actually was able to run the internet, which is, you know, that's the beginning of where they're going to completely take it away from us, any possibility of communication.
I believe if the church prays, and if we stand in the gap, and if we interact with our, you know, leaders, so-called political leaders, and let them know about our displeasure. You know, there are several are fighting from both aisles, you know, Democrat and Republican. Just as we saw, they just reverted, you know, the issue on the American can sue the Saudi Arabian government for bringing terrorism to the United States and support them financially.
Isn't that the first thing that the Congress has overturned a veto from the president?
That's the first one. And
so the president was protecting Saudi Arabia.
He was, but yet our Senate, Democrat and liberals today, they are supporting many other things, and they did not stand up to Obama in all this, while they could have done the same thing time and time again. But now we're coming to the place, this will be the dog leash that will be put on the American neck by turning everything. You know, Obama is trying to keep this, that it's irrevocable, that if the new president come in, could not change that. But he could not, because as far as he can go, it's executive order. Executive order can be turned. But the minute the UN will take this, now what happened, they will know where you live by your IP address, what you watched on your computer, where did you go on your computer, what media you listened to, what ministry, what you said, like what we're doing tonight will be illegal. And when they capture that, this will be the hate crime bill. The hate crime bill is a UN bill. It's UN 1618. The UN bill 1618, it is the hate crime to disallow anyone to speak on Islam or against Islam. You will be penalized with a hefty, penalty. You'll be thrown in jail, and then you have to go to special camp to retrain psychologically to accept and love the Muslim people. This is, what Hillary Clinton will be bringing with her. That's the first order she'll be bringing to United States of America. So if the UN take this, will be dominated by world civilization. These are 57 nations at the UN. They call the OIC, Organization Islamic Conference. The Organization Islamic Conference, they control the entire United Nation. United Nations plays the puppet of Islam.
Okay, so this is part of what the subversion, the infiltration, the taking over of America, that was part of the plan
That is.
from your higher-ups then.
The only reason why they're doing this because behind the scene, they don't think Hillary will be able to win. They feel that Hillary is not going to be able to survive this because she's dealing with a crisis, health crisis. And and I believe it's very catastrophic in her life. And the other part, what we see in the media, and we'll talk about the mountain of media tomorrow, which is very important, is why they're hiding the truth from the public. Is the silent majority that is sitting out there. They have not spoken, and all this is coming all together, and they're really afraid of this. So that's why they are subjugating America to United Nations. They tried to do this to bring America under the UN, and that's why they sequestered our military to give the upper hand to the United Nations. So we are coming to the place where Obama, before he steps down, is trying to turn the reign to United Nations. And here's the scary part. What if Obama becomes the president of the United Nations?
Well, I guess we're going to have to find out. Now, come on. I don't know. And people are wondering, can they trust you? I mean, yeah, you are the master of subversion. That's what you were sent here to do. How do we know that you're not feeding us, just a bunch of scare stuff that, and that you are not actually continuing to do what you were trained to do?
Well, there's a story out there, there's a man by name John the Baptist. He was baptizing people, and then he baptized Jesus Christ. And then one day he was taken to jail. And they asked John the Baptist, and then John the Baptist sent his apostle to ask Jesus, are you the one, or should we wait for the one yet to come? And Jesus says, I am. He said, look at my fruit. The blinds are healed. The lambs are walking, all of it. Look at the fruit and look at the ministry, because today, people like me, they're under war. And the war that is coming against us, like Muslim Brotherhood today, they have a list of 60 men and women they call Islamophobe. What's Islamophobe? Are those who are tackling Islam like I'm tackling it. I could not give away the secret of Islam and come and say, I'm part of that.
Oh, okay, all right, I'll give you that, but what happened? I mean, you came over here with one agenda. Something happened in your life to change this.
Yes.
I want to hear that. I want to hear what happened in your life.
My territory was the jail system. Our focus was on a black African American to convert them to Islam. That's number one. The jail system, because what we're trying to do is divide the culture. Today, the culture is divided, and that agenda has established.
It's worse than it's ever been.
The second one, it was universities. Today, the rise up of radicalism is coming out of university. Our children that we send in, they're rising against the people who sent them there. The third one is the political system. The political system are selling their children into, the god of Mammon, offering their children on an altar of sacrifice to God. His name is Baal and Amalek. So therefore what happened is, and the last one is in the university where we seduced the professors, where the professors now, they're offering the life, because the uniqueness about those professors, when you bring about liberalism, secularism, socialism, Marxism, Islamism, all of them, or fascism, or Nazism, all of them are an ism. and they have the same God, and they are together in unholy alliances. And so therefore what happened, we were shifting the culture, and one day I got in a car wreck. The car wreck was so severe that I cracked my neck in 2 places, and I fell upside down on my head, in a mud hole. And 3 different men rose up and helped me. The first one on the road, the second one in the hospital, and the third one in the hospital. 2 of them doctor, and 1 of them was a normal man, a businessman. But the uniqueness about all this, my life was being changed. And now I'm at the hospital, and these men came to visit me, and all of a sudden they start hugging each other. They belong to special Bible class. All together they belong. There's 60 businessmen all together involved in this. And now these men are, they know each other. And it's amazing when we look at things as, accidents, God look at it as God-ordered incidents. Because when God puts something together, no one can take apart. And I came here to destroy this nation culturally, but this nation has a God that sits on its wall, and he watches day and night, and he's a consuming fire. And he's looking for those with a heart. He searches the heart. And I have a heart for a false God, and he remembered my cry on that rooftop. And now, in their home, I saw something different, that my God and their God are 2 different gods. And what I saw also, I saw that what they have, it's the unconditional love. That's something I never learned and never understood. How can you be unconditional? This one is, everything is conditional. Today you're my best brother. Tomorrow if you convert, I have the right to take your head off. You're my best wife. Tomorrow I have the right to dishonor you by taking your blood off and your head off, or do whatever. Things can change from one perspective to another. But here, these people love me unconditionally without knowing who I am. And their home, I saw the biggest Bible. Not the one they read, the one they lived. And there, I was examining 2 gods, and I saw the 2 gods. This one, his name is Jehovah God Almighty, and this one, his name is Allah. This one so loved the world. This one said, if the world worth anything to him, even a net leg, he'd have destroyed it time and time again. He hated the world. This one so loved the world that he gave. This one took. This one gave his son. This one brought an orphan man. This one brought spirit of adoption of Jesus Christ. This one brought orphan spirit. This one gave his life. This one took nearly 300 million life. This one gave his blood. This one drank the blood of his enemy. This one healed the blind. This one shunned the blind. He said, you are not good enough to be a Muslim. This one said to the prostitute, go sin no more. This one commended the prostitute, stoning. I was going like, they can't be the same God. And my eyes were open. The Word of God says, the God of this world has blinded the unbelievers. Lest the gospel of good news. You are the gospel of good news. And when these people reach out to me, my eyes were open. It was the amazing grace. And now, my eyes were open. Now I can see. But when they sent me home, when I saw the tangible God, that they speak to their God speak to them. They have a relationship. Oh, they have healing. I'm going, give me this magic. I want it. They said, well, his name is Jesus. I said, well, I'm allergic to Jesus. Can we just do with the magic and without Jesus? They said, it's one outfit fit all. I'm going like, this is not kosher. So it was very kosher. Sorry.
You actually said that's not kosher.
So I'm sitting in their home, and now they're telling me I became their Nana. I became Nana Kamal. They said, you can go home. They bought me a brand new car to replace my old car, and they gave me a set of keys to their home. And they said, you can go. I said, but I'm not feeling well. In a couple more months, I'll be much, much better. They said, you can come anytime you want to. I went home, my home defeated for the first time. I fell on my knees, facing the eastern window toward Mecca, and I cried out with a loud voice to my God, Allah, Rabbi wa Mawlay, my Lord and my King, why have you done such a thing to me? It's not the car wreck I'm complaining about. It's about these crazy Christians. They have a relationship with their God. Oh, they cry, Daddy, 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 Daddy all the time. Oh, he answers. I want to have a relationship with you too. I want to hear that you love me. Allah, if you are real, speak to me. Guess what Allah said? Some of you know who he is. He did not say a word. That day I came to put the gun in my head and clock out for the first time. And behold, I heard the voice of my Father for the first time. Creator of heaven and earth. He knew me by my name. He knew my everything. He called me 3 times. Come on. Come on. Come on, my son. The Muslim, the Jews, and the Christian, they call on the God of Father Abraham. Once you call on the God of Father Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, the God of your family, I fell on my knees and I cried out with a loud voice, God of Father Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, if you are real, speak to me. God of Father Abraham, if you are real, I want to know you. Well, behold, the room was filled with his glory. And as he stood there, his name is Yahweh. The Lord is one. In his presence, there's a fullness of joy. There's power. There's healing. There is love. He's the essence of all things. He's the light of the world. He's the center. He's the word. He's the spirit. He's the life. He's the glory and the lifter of our head. He is everything, and he's dressed like a Jewish man. He has holes in his hand and his feet. As I looked at him, I said, who are you, my Lord? And he said, I am that I am. I said, well, what is that supposed to mean? I'm a Bedouin. I have no understanding. He said, I am the Aleph. I'm the Tav. I'm the beginning. I'm the end. I am everything. I have known you before I formed the foundation of the earth. I have loved you before I formed you in your mother womb. Kum, Kamel, arise. You are my warrior. You are not their warrior. As I stood up, my neck was intact. My collarbone, my chest, my knee, everything was perfect. But that was not the miracle. The miracle, my heart was set free. My mind was released. I was changed. I became a real boy for the first time. I saw life. And when I saw life, I said to him, my Lord, I will live and die for you. He said, do not die for me, Kamal. I died for you that you may live. I said, my Lord, give me permission by the skin of their teeth and by their eyelashes, I will make them Christians, Muslim style. He said, the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. Be an ambassador of mine. What I could not fathom is from what I used to be to ambassador of God. And the ambassador of God is never active unless you activate it. Go in my name. Engage, engage, engage. Because if you don't engage, it's not real. Many of you are here tonight to engage. Make it real.
We're going to take, thank you, Kamal. Thank you. Well, I think this is a perfect time to engage. We give everyone out there in cyberspace around the world the opportunity